All right,
Uh,
now we're gonna get a little serious. So we're gonna change up the way we do things a bit because there's a topic we keep putting off and putting off and putting off and putting off. But it keeps making the news and making the news and making the news and making the news and destroying our community and destroying our community and destroying our community and destroying our community. So we're going to talk a bit about fentanyl. Um, so I did a little research a while back about fentanyl. There's different kinds of fentanyl. A while ago, when we first said off mic, we were going to discuss the topic. I was reading some articles about different color fentanyl, and they were saying be careful with multicolored fentanyl. Look out because it just looks like something fun and festive that might be an additive to the drug you're taking. Street drugs, obviously, is what we're talking about, not over the counter. However, that cool, sparkly little rock mist that's thrown in there is often multicolored fentanyl, which is just as dangerous as the regular one that you hear about and see often on the news. So, fentanyl is killing us both literally and figuratively. It is all over the black and brown communities, and honestly, it's in the whites communities too.
no doubt.
Yeah. I don't know if it's as big as the opioid crisis yet, but it's definitely making its rounds. Michael K. Williams passed because of a fentanyl situation. Some say it was intentional, some say it was not. From my understanding and my readings, it was not. Um, I don't know a lot of celebrity deaths that have happened with this, but I do know there are lots of deaths that have happened recently in the last, I don't know, 2, 3 years. I feel like before 2, 3 years ago, I never really heard about fentanyl on a regular basis. It was something you might have heard in passing, or I mean, not especially not in street drugs. Like you weren't hearing people like, oh man, like before the T virus, people weren't ODing on fentanyl. So I didn't hear about it at least. I don't know when you go, Dre, you could chime in on that, but up until very recently, prior to the T virus being here, 2019, 2020, I didn't really hear anybody passing before that from fentanyl overdose or fentanyl tampered drugs. At this point, it is bad. It's the real pandemic, if you ask me. It is all over the streets. People are dying. And, I don't read the newspaper every day, but I see the newspapers often at my job. And there's lots and lots of articles being written about people passing away from fentanyl, fentanyl laced drugs. And then there's even some I saw where people are actually purposely taking fentanyl straight up. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy to me that people are so willing to risk their lives for a buzz because it's like, son, if I told you, hey man, you know, such and such thing is making people die very quickly, I don't think you would run to that. You know what I'm saying? If you was like, yo, vanilla ice cream is making cats drop like flies right now. I don't care how much you like ice cream, you would probably avoid vanilla ice cream. So, I think that we have to, shifting to my opinion, I think that we have to be very careful in our community about where we're getting our drugs from, who we're getting our drugs from, and honestly how much drugs we're taking, because I am not a guy who really dabbles in that world. I'm not going to pass judgment on those who do, but it's not worth your life. You know what I'm saying? Like it gets to a point where it's like, man, this could be your last hit. And I know there's a lot of drugs in our community, and there's a lot of drugs that we speak highly of and rap about and sing about, and that is cool, I guess, but this shit is real life. And, it's really here today, gone tomorrow at this point. And I think these are things that we need to consider with our drug consumption. Yeah, it might just be a little weed, it might just be a little coke, whatever, but who you're getting it from, where they're getting it from, and how much you're doing all are contributing factors to this situation, and it doesn't take a lot from what I'm understanding. It does not take a lot of fentanyl to kill someone. It's a very powerful drug, chemical, whatever. It doesn't take a lot to take a person out, and so these are things that you have to consider. And yeah, I mean, I don't got much more than that. I think it's unfortunate that this is happening in our communities, but our communities are usually the ones that get hit the hardest first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it for me. What you got, Dre?
Yeah. So, I wanted to do this topic, because I consider it a PSA on
Hmm.
our part, since we do take up, we talk about health. And for a long time, we went in the beginning about,
The T
pandemic and
virus.
all that. Right. And so, just to expand on what you're saying, and you mean you're absolutely right. Um, it you see the expansion of it, the more weed becomes legal. So you go back, let's say about 10 years, nobody was talking about it. Really, because weed wasn't really legal that many places, but what you start seeing is once weed becomes legal more and more places, fentanyl starts to increase. And the reason that is because okay, now weed is legal. So how does this drug man compete with the other dude that's selling, right?
Hmm.
Because no one's going to throw you in jail now, what I mean? Because you have it, because it's a legal thing. And people may not have dispensaries or whatever they're going through. So that local drug dude is going to make himself have a better product than maybe your dispensary or maybe some official place where you could get it from. And he's going to be like, yo, mine's is better, right? And the kids that are taking it are getting younger and younger. You're talking about 12, 13, whatever. All right. So, as I'm saying, is that, once we became legal, you see that fentanyl has increased, all because of basically competition, right? Because the weed guy who was doing an illegal thing, now he's doing something legal, but he has to distinguish himself in the open market. And what they started to do is to say, yo, I got the baddest stuff. Yo, my stuff will make you, yo, it's crazy. You gonna be up in the stratosphere with mine.
Right.
And they start adding just a tiny bit.
Right.
And then the other guy adds just a tiny bit more. Then the other
Right.
dude adds a tiny bit more. And before you know it, as we know, it don't take much to have a lethal dose.
Right.
And this is what's been happening. And as you pretty much said, not only are they just adding fentanyl to the weed, but they're adding it to everything and they're making it look like candy, right? To get a younger
Yep.
and younger um, clientele, if you will, you
Hmm.
know. And so, uh, everything you said was absolutely right. And what I'm seeing is because you're getting these kids so young, and remember, their brains are not fully even developed yet.
Right.
You're getting this fentanyl coming in and it's actually like stumping their brain development,
Mm.
so you have kids who can't form sentences,
Right.
who academically can't go beyond like a fifth grader, or because they think they just chilling smoking weed, and they are, but it's so much additives now
Right.
that is a big problem. And so, you know as you're saying, it's like, man, you really got to get off this stuff,
Right.
because you don't know where it's coming from. Or if you are going to, enjoy, having weed or something like that, you got to get it from a more legal source, a source that can verify what they put in it, like
Right.
dispensaries and things like that. Because even though we want to like support our local weed dude because we've been rolling with him for so long and that's your dude, that's your guy, okay, but you have no idea what he's putting in there.
Right.
And you might be saying to yourself, man, I don't even have to smoke that much. I just smoke a little bit and I get so high and it lasts me longer by going to this dude. You got to understand that, well, you're having a chemical reaction to something that isn't supposed to get you like that in just one or two pulls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so if that's happening to you, it's more in that than just some green. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, people have been smoking weed for ever.
Yeah, and
This is
today
not
nobody's
new.
smoking regular green. That's the problem. To in the words of our co-host Dex, to just I'm just adding on to what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
No, no, go in.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the thing. Like everybody's smoking hybrids and mixes, and oh yeah, but you know when you do this to it, it's even stronger. And it's like, well, stronger is not natural, which is not natural. Is something we talk about often here. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like Reggie, regular weed, nobody smokes that anymore. That
And
been
that's
done.
right, and that's
And
part of the problem, right? It's
right.
like we need a campaign to go back to basics. Even though, we spend a lot of time here talking about exercise and all that. And
Mhm.
what we really kind of boil down to is, well, once you go back to basics, you don't need to do these weird exercises and blah 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 of what you're trying to get. You're trying to chill out, you're trying to just relax, you're
Mhm.
trying to just like be cool. Oops.
Oh, that was the opposite of be cool.
We're
Nigga
having
said
an
be
earthquake.
cool.
We're having an earthquake here. The
Yeah,
earthquake. No. But you know what I mean? It's like you trying to just
yeah.
like chill and vibe. And that's the way it was for like years. You
Right,
know what I'm saying? I remember, coming up, my mom's used to smoke weed when she was young and I was just a little baby. You know what I mean?
right.
Like it was regular. It was just like, it was just what you
Super,
did. But
super
nobody
regular.
went out of their mind. Yeah, it was crazy super regular. In fact, she would just tell me, because we didn't know. She'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just making my own cigarettes right now,"
That's it.
yeah, and chill with her friends.
Right,
But like you said, it wasn't anything you like. Oh my god! And everybody would be like chill, listening to albums, talking,
right,
and it would open up. It would do the opposite of what it's doing now. It would actually open up your mind.
right. Those creative
And
juices.
yeah, yeah, I know the first time I had, not the first time, but it's the first time I had international weed, I should say, where I met this dude. We chilling. I'm in Brooklyn at the time, white boy, and we smoking weed, and it was shitty weed. Here's the thing about shitty weed: you don't know you have shitty weed until somebody come along and
With that
say
good shit.
you have shitty weed. You're
Right.
like, what are you talking about? He was like, yo, um, now no disrespect to y'all, like he didn't even know us. We just chilling. He's like, but that's some shitty weed.
Right.
I could smell it. He's like, but I have Amsterdam up in my apartment if y'all want to get down. So he seemed real cool. We was like, all right, Jay. I don't know if I ever told you the story, but it's like we go upstairs to this dude. He had a loft,
Oh
right?
yeah, we
This is
talked
like,
about this.
yeah, this dude, he had a loft. It was cool, right? A cool white dude. We chilling, with some girls with us, whatever. But me and him was just like on the vibe, like whatever. And so he rolled up his jump. He's like, yeah, here you go. This is Amsterdam. And not, I'm not a weed dude. I don't really smoke like that. Maybe once in a while, whatever. Maybe twice a year.
Right.
I smoke this weed, brother. The only word I could tell you is clairvoyance. My mind got so clear. I'm talking to this dude about everything. It's remember that pill, Limitless,
I was
where you
waiting.
take
Yeah.
and yeah, everything you've ever read, everything you ever seen, you could just access it. You don't forget nothing.
Right.
I'm sitting here talking to him about articles I read in college, newspaper clippings that so when I was in high school and I'm referencing like economic reform, we just go in. I'm like, how am I able to just what?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, but my mind is so clear. I'm like, yo, honestly, son, this I'm not even so much high as much as I'm clear minded. I'm like, wow,
Right.
this is what's up. And so I'm only saying that to say we've gone completely reverse. Like, I don't know what this is actually stumping people. People don't have, yo, man, I smoke weed and I was able to reference something from like 25 years ago and remember. Nah, people don't actually have words right now. They can't even form proper sentences.
Right.
I see a lot of these young kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing, like you said, this is in our communities for a reason. This is another thing to destroy black and brown people in the highest rate probably we've seen in a long time.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true, and it's also being used more so. I know your focus was on the weed game. It's actually also really
Yeah,
being used on high end drugs as well. And
yeah,
so we
yeah.
had a little
Hmm.
break, as y'all will see with the editing. We had a little technical issue, but In that time, I was able to find that both Prince and Mac Miller's deaths were tied to fentanyl. So those are things that are confirmed. You can look it up. I didn't say none at first because I didn't have the articles in front of me. I wasn't sure. Prince, I'll be honest, I didn't know about. I did know about Mac Miller. Someone was even charged in his situation. In his passing, his dealer was charged because there was foul play. And so
Yeah.
you see that this is something that's happening. So it's not only with weed, and it is considered part of the opioid crisis, I guess, but I hear it separately, which is why I didn't say that. Like, I don't hear the opioid crisis and fentanyl as part of the umbrella. Normally, I hear them as two totally separate things. I don't need my phone in my hand. As two totally separate things. But fentanyl is part of opioids. It is an opioid, and is being used in a lot of the higher end drugs, which is going back to Michael K. Williams. That's part of what his situation was.
Yeah.
He wasn't seeking out fentanyl; it was something that was part of what he consumed.
Right.
Um, so I just wanted to add that on. It is hitting
Yeah.
celebs. I don't mean to sound cold. I care less about the celebs and more about the everyday people. Prince and Michael K. Williams, yes, we had a lot of ties to them. A lot of us looked up to them and enjoyed everything that they did. But the celebs are not listening to this pod. I'm more concerned with the people in our communities and the people listening to this pod. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's part of the issue because it's like your average cat wants to do what the celeb is doing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So the celebs want to do exotic shit,
right,
right? So somebody comes to them, yo, I got this beautiful exotic drug. It ain't nothing you ever had before. And they thinking, wow, I got some special stuff that nobody can have. You know what I'm saying? And so
mm-hmm.
we down here looking up to them like, yo, man, I want to get a little bit of that exotic coke, not realizing the exoticness of it is the
Mm-hmm.
danger,
Yeah, and I
where
don't.
you're,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say where you're safer and no one is saying do drugs. I don't get down with it like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at cats from like the 60s and the 70s who are still here today when all they did was drugs. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
like coke. Okay, I'm gonna do coke. I'm gonna wild out in this like hotel room and do wild things, whatever. And they're here now in their 70s and their 80s and they telling you the stories. Yo, 65 was crazy, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. We was doing this, but they was doing basic drugs. They wasn't trying to make it exotic.
Right.
I think now to try to be different, to try to do something that's nobody else is doing, because this is what we're all about now, is that I have to distinguish myself in every way. So I don't take the drugs you take. I don't eat the food. Everything I got to do got to be exotic because I'm up here. And
Mm-hmm.
now the people down there is looking up like, oh, I want to do exotic shit too. And so now they're mimicking these cats and they're falling prey to their issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't think it's that. I think it's more of the fact that the customer is being blindsided. I don't think cats are really chasing an exotic coke or an exotic weed. I think what it is they just got their dealer. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, hey, every Friday I go see so and so got the best coke in town. And that's it. I take that coke, not me, the person in this example. They take this coke and they have a great weekend every time. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's, let me be clear, there are plenty of people chasing ridiculous highs. I'm saying I don't think that this is intentionally being done in this fentanyl case. I think that people are doing what they always do. And it's like, hey, my man hooks me up every Friday. I see him and then I party all weekend. And I think the thing is that the customers are being blindsided. I think people are taking that same thing they thought they bought last Friday and just trying to get their usual party on. And then it's like, oh, well, they happen to pass away this weekend because
But
they
that's
had
what I'm
no
saying.
idea that the shit they thought was the regular shit, the shit they thought they got every Friday, well, this time, so and so laced it.
So you remember mad years ago, 10, 12, 13 years ago, that whole Cat Williams shit when he's like, this shit right here, nigger, this shit right here, right?
Yes.
What he's basically saying, that whole joke that makes it so funny is like, your basic drugs that I'm usually used to, the weed that I just normally smoke, I'm a weed smoker.
Hmm.
Now, this drug dealer, friend of mine, whoever, my connect, is bringing me, as you're saying, these hybrid or exotic joints, and it's making cats do stuff that we never did before. And it's like, haha, we laughed at it because it was a funny joke, but there's a point to that. You know what I'm saying? And that was 13 years ago or wherever it was, right? Where it's like now it's even worse than what he was saying. You know what I mean? It's like it it just keeps getting more and more. So like you said, the basics is going. Everything is hybrid,
Yeah.
everything is adding more and more, and now the fentanyl is all over the place. Whether we're talking about weed, coke, or just fentanyl by itself.
Right.
Like, like you said, made to look like candy, made to do whatever. So, the issue is cats gotta for me, what I'm saying is, yo, I'm not telling nobody to be on drugs or whatever, but think about what you're taking and think about why you want to take this drug.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're smoking weed, you supposed, correct me if I'm wrong, you're supposed to be smoking weed to chill, relax, whatever it is, to just chill out.
Right.
It's not supposed to get your mind so high where you can't come down. And
Hmm.
that's what he was saying. It's like, yo, why am I still high?
Right.
This is ridiculous. I got work to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's not supposed to do that.
Right.
Okay, few hours, man, get something to eat, go to sleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this, if you're realizing, man, I've been smoking this thing, I've been high for 2 or 3 days. That's a problem, bro.
Right.
That's not something you should seek out, and you need to get off of that
Right.
as fast as possible because the next time you get it might be the last time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. We
Yeah,
have to be very careful and mindful of the things that we're doing, who we're getting it from, and where are they getting it from. Because, yeah, that might be your man who gets it every Friday. You get it from them every Friday, but where are they getting it from? It's a
right.
whole different conversation.
Whole nother
So,
lab. Whole nother
yeah,
lab.
because you don't know. I mean, and to be honest, if we're going to be blunt, a lot of the street level dealers are not the people who are doing the things. It's coming
No.
from whoever they're getting it from.
Yeah. Yeah. They're telling them, yo, push this. Yo, this is gonna have them. This you
Right.
want customers coming back to you.
Right.
This is stuff you need to push. This is gonna have them,
Right.
off the
Here's
meter.
this week's package. That's it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
And they're like,
Stringer Bell
okay.
said the package is the package.
Right. And when somebody die, as
Hmm.
you just reported, then cat's gonna start looking to you. You did this.
Right.
You did this to them. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So, in anywhere that you are in that line, you need to get up out of that. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of places that is legal now. People want to start their own dispensaries. There's supposed to be money for urban communities to do their kind of thing, so
Yeah.
that you can do this thing legally and do it the right way, and
Hmm.
have like good, clean sources of whatever it is that you feel like you want to get into.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But have it in a way that is more medicinal. You know what I'm saying, than anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I tell people all the time that I know, you got to be careful. And I don't know how cats smoke all that hybrid, super fly, crazy shit. Oh, on the app it says if you mix JD and Dre together, you gonna feel like ET phones home. And I'm like, son, I
Well,
don't want none of
one
that
of
shit.
I don't. That's not
I
where I
don't
want
want
to
a
go.
phone home.
Right.
I'm
I'm not
cool.
trying to go there.
I'm
Right.
cool. Yeah, I don't want
Right.
none of that shit. I'm
I don't
good.
want none of that.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
got
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
regular medicinal,
You know what I'm
homegrown plant
saying?
based shit. You know what I'm
You got
saying?
some fly limitless
You
joint
know what
where
I'm
I could just
saying?
access all kind of
Right,
points of my brain. You know what I'm saying? Where they go synapses, all the synapses going on in my brain. I could
right,
just access everything.
right,
Okay, yeah, let me get that.
right,
That's hot. You know, debate with everybody.
right.
Debate with all y'all.
Right.
But I'm not trying to, be in some stratosphere stuck.
That
You know,
extraterrestrial shit ain't for me.
yeah, just
I
on the
don't I
broom,
don't
just
want no parts of that.
with nothing,
Want
man. It's,
no parts of that. Nigga
I
like, hey Jay,
can't
what's
come
up? You
down.
good? Like, son, I was with ET and Thanos for the last 3 days. It was crazy, son.
Exactly, man.
I don't
I
know
was in
what
a
happened.
galaxy far, far away. I
And it
don't
was a
know where
long
I was
time
at.
ago. Nigga, like, Jay, we smoked with you last night. What are you talking about?
Right. What?
Son,
That was last night.
that was last night. I was with them for the past 3 days.
You know what I mean?
Bugging.
Nah,